over the past week and a half, we've literally only been doing Django and Python. So working the Django framework, learning the architecture, how to create models, views, templates, and Jinja, it's like the model view controller. And now, today, we're going to bring it back. Now with context switching, we're going to be working in a completely different framework in a completely different language. So I know you've been getting used to Python and Django, but we're going to completely switch it. It's going to look a lot different. But the first thing we're going to do today is bring it back to just basic OOP, object-oriented programming. We're going to do a quick review of Python object-oriented programming, and we're going to translate that into JavaScript using OOP. So object-oriented programming in JavaScript to see what that syntax looks like. And then we're going to go, since we're working in back to the front end and working in React, we're going to build a just basic counter clicker using vanilla JavaScript and HTML. So like loading the JavaScript file into an HTML that says like document.get element ID, and you click it and it changes some element in the HTML. And then we're going to essentially replicate that, but using React. And then we're going to jump into like an intro to actual React and see what that looks like. If anybody have any questions about what we're going to do, where we're going to start, and where we're going to kind of end up. So by the end of the lecture, you're going to see React and kind of get used to the commands and how that architecture looks like. Oh, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
All right, great. So right now, so we're gonna do a quick OOP review. So I'm in this React intro lecture directory. I'm gonna create two files, OOP Python and OOP JavaScript. And I am going to code this. Open this in the current window. I've got OOP Python, OOP JavaScript, and I'm going to do a split screen. So we got quick review of object-oriented programming. I need OOP. I'm going to create a person class. So class person. I need to, what do I first need to do in Python? The first method. I need an init file or init method, def under init. That takes in, what does this take in? Self. Then I'm going to take name and city. And then self dot name equals name. Self dot city equals city. Cool. Now I'm going to create an instance method called say hello. Def say hello. You want to take the lights or dim the lights a little bit? Yeah. What does this take in? It's just it's not going to take in any. I don't need to pass in anything as far as parameters other than self. Correct. And this is going to return string called saying hello. My name is self.name, and I'm from self.city. Now to execute this, I'm going to say Tom equals person. My name is Tom. City is Onward. And now I want to execute the say hello, and I want it to print, hello, my name is Tom, and I'm from Chicago. So it's print Tom dot say hello, and I need to invoke that method. All right, now let's run this. So this is the basic class, name of the class name, person. We need the init. When does the init run? When is the init method execute?
You initialize the variable like that.
Yep. When I initialize a class instance. So if I were to print Tom, before I do that, which should come down here, ls, so I've got my OOP JavaScript and my OOP Python. I want to run the OOP Python. What's the command for that? How do I run the Python file? Python OOP.
We thought it was it's too easy.
So here's my main. That's my instance, person instance, an object. So now I want to execute the say hello, the instance of the person, assigned to a variable Tom, Tom.say hello, and I invoke that say hello. I'm printing that up. Clear. Run that again. Hello, my name is Tom, and I'm from Tom. Now I'm in JavaScript. We haven't done object-oriented programming in JavaScript yet. And the reason why we're doing this is because you're going to be seeing a little OOP in React. So syntax is very similar. Class, person, then curly braces. Now instead of the dunder init that executes right when this person is invoked or declared, we have a thing called a method called, or a function called constructor. An instructor is the equivalent to init. And constructor takes in just the parameter city, or name and city, like that. Don't need self or what's called this in JavaScript. So constructor name and city. And in place of self.name, self.city, we do this.name equals name. And this.city equals city. So that, this construct, everything right here is the equivalent to this dunder init. Any questions so far?
In JavaScript, can you have multiple constructors?
I don't know. I don't know what the reasoning would be.
You know, because sometimes, like maybe for certain situations, you might just want a single constructor that actually takes in no variables, whereas in a situation you might need to instantiate an object with certain variables already instantiated with it.
I was talking about like Java style, where you can overload.
I've never seen it before. I don't like the way I know JavaScript works. I don't know how you'd be able to execute one constructor function over another. I'll say no.
Okay.
But consider that there are ways of having making some arguments optional for any kind of JavaScript method. So that would be more functionality you're looking for.
Okay.
So now inside the person, we want to essentially do the same thing as say hello. Where before we normally like do like function, say hello, or const, say hello. And you assign that to a function. We don't need to do any of that. We just say hello. But okay, we don't need to pass in this because this has access to these instance variables that are accessible throughout the applications, throughout this process.
They're all keeping it.
I'm sorry?
Because the curly braces keeping it all in.
Yeah, so like everything is encapsulated in this person class. Now I want to return. How do I do string interpolation in JavaScript? Do the little tactics. Hello. My name is this dot name, and I'm $, this dot. Now to create a new instance of person, we do let or const. I do let Tom equals we need new person. We need this new. So we're creating a new instance. As in Tom. As in now let's console log. Tom. There. Now how do I run this JavaScript file?
No.
Node. OOP. Yes. Person. Name. Tom. City. Longwood. That's what that looks like. A little more readable than in Python. Now let's console log. Tom dot say hello. Invoke that. It's Tom instance. Tom dot say hello. Let's invoke it. Hello, my name is Tom, and I'm from Longwood. Pretty straightforward right now. Little minute syntax differences, just because of JavaScript. Introducing this constructor, which is the same as init. We just pass in parameters. Now, in place of self, which is Python, we're using this. This is really like an important part of JavaScript in React as well. Cool. Now, inheritance. So I've got a person class. Now I want to create a class called employee that takes in a name and city and say, what should we do, like an employee ID or title or something like that. And I want it to inherit everything from the person class. So class employee. And how do I inherit everything from the person class?
You put in
Parentheses, person. Now I need a def init. Takes itself, name, city. Let's say now what? What do I need to invoke the person class in there? Remember this? Super. Super, invoke it. Dot dunder init. Just takes in the name, city. So it comes into here. Super, so whatever parent class runs the init, takes in name and city. And then self dot title equals title. Now I want to, what method makes it an object instance easy to read if I just want to see what's in the object instance? Understring. So def str, and what do I need to pass in here? So I want to return string, just return my title is title. And now instead of take another one, Tom equals employee, Tom, Lombard, title, instructor. Tom. See what that looks like. The title is instructor. I do Tom dot say hello. inheriting all the methods from person in the employee class, so I had access to say hello and return this. I'll just do that, but in JavaScript. So class employee extends person. So the class employee extends everything from the person class. So kind of just like here, with the def init and super, I'm going to do constructor name, city, title, curly braces. Don't forget the curly braces. I know we've been working in Python a lot, and you're going to probably run into a lot of errors in your FE because you forgot a parenthesis or curly brackets up there somewhere. So in constructor, now we want to call person class and accept the name and city. Does anybody know it? Very similar to Python. Super. Name, city. That's it. And then this title equals title. And then here, I just want to create a new, I want to override. So before we do that, let's create a brand new employee. All the time. Let Tom equals employee. Missing something. New employee. Tom. Lombard. And instructor. So I'm going to console log Tom. And I also want to console log Tom dot say hello and code it. Say hello is a method that belongs to the person class. So let's see what this is. Clear down at the terminal. I'm going to run JavaScript. Employee, so like my employee instance, Tom, city, Lombard, instructor. Hello, my name is Tom, and I'm from Lombard. But I want to override this method. I want to return instance, return name. This dot name. I want to like, is that how you do it? Let's go a different line. City. This dot city. And title. This dot title. Oh, say hello. And now, instead of it saying hello, my name is Tom, and I'm from Lombard, it should say just name, city, and title. Cross our fingers. There we go. Good. Tom, Lombard, title. So this is exactly pretty much what we did. Person, employee, person class, and employee class that inherits all the person attributes, methods, functions. So I'm able to call, say hello, and have access to the name and city. Any questions so far?
Why is it that you have two say hello functions in JavaScript, but only one hello function in Python?
I just didn't do it, but I can always come down here. Say hello, and I can just do.
Okay.
Is that how you do it? I forgot. So if you want it 100% equal, something like
Space after the colon. What is the title?
so. So that's yeah. Say hello. Say hello. So this is exactly node OP, and then let's look at Python. Any question?
Hey, Tom, so in the JavaScript example, when in your say hello, is that, so would that be considered, you were saying, a method instead of a function, since we're not using like a fat arrow function? So you still have, I'm just trying to understand, you, in order for it to be a, or still call it, you just, I guess, have something that's invocable instead of a function. Is that correct?
So methods and functions, it's just semantics. They're all, I mean, I'm sure there is some kind of difference, but I use them interchangeably. They're all like, in JavaScript, I use the nomenclatures like functions. In Python, they're generally called methods. So, okay, probably didn't answer your question.
No, I mean, I did a horrible job asking the question, so I didn't really help you out. But like in Python, how, you know, we create a function using like the def say hello.
Yep.
And then, I mean, typically like up until now, I mean, you can correct me if I'm wrong, like when we've created a function in JavaScript, you know, we've done it via like a fat, either doing function or like a fat arrow.
Yep.
Would it change anything if you threw a fat arrow function just after the parentheses?
So in JavaScript, and specifically in React, it'll be beneficial for you to use fat arrow functions. We're not going to go into why right now, but essentially, when we get into this fat arrow functions, we'll get into it later. But like if you declare a function just like how I am right now, in React, you're going to have to bind this function to this instance. And that requires a little bit more syntax and more methods. But if you use the fat arrow function, this instance is already bound to that function, or bound to that. Yeah, it's already bound to it. So you don't have to do additional manipulation. But if you want, you can, I think, do that, and it's the same thing. Yeah. So I created this as a fat arrow function and assigned it to a variable called say hello.
Is that how it's always been?
No.
With declaring a method inside a class, like where you just don't need the const or let anymore in it. It's always been like that.
I don't know if it's always been like that. Right? ES6, this is how it is. Before in ES5, you'd have to create constructor functions, which kind of looks like classes, but it's just syntax is a little different. But ES6, this is all ES6 syntax. So, Brian, you can do it like this. I'd encourage you to do it like this, actually. It'll make your life a lot easier in React. You're passing in methods and invoking, or passing in functions, stuff like that. All right. Done with OOP review. So now let's create, oh, yep.
Hey, Tom, one more thing. So I think Noah touched on it a little bit yesterday, and I didn't really catch it there, but is JavaScript not considered like a good programming language to do object-oriented programming in? Because your example made it look like it's a lot easier than Python to do OOP.
JavaScript isn't considered an object-oriented programming language or a functional programming language. It's considered like it's like a paradigm, a logical function. I don't know. It can use both of them. It's not. I've seen it like majority of the time I see it used as functional programming, but you can use OOP, and you will see OOP in React. So that's kind of why we're reviewing it now. So it's not not beneficial. It's not a negative. Just kind of you use what you need to get the job done. And there are cases in production where OOP and JavaScript is required to meet the requirements of whatever product you're building, whatever feature you're building. That kind of answer your question?
Thanks.
All right, so let's get into the front end now. Clear. Let's create a directory called make directory called clicker, cd and a clicker. I'm going to create two files, an index.html and a script.js file. I'm going to code. I don't need code. I'm just going to do it here. So over here, I've got my clicker, I've got my HTML, and I've got my script. Let's open up. CD, I'm going to open index HTML. Yeah. All right. My security settings are always jacked. I'm going to open up this index HTML file in the browser real quick. Right here, there's nothing. So let's do some HTML. Let's do some boilerplate. Get rid of that. Prep. Get rid of this. And let's do let's do an H1 and say counter. And have this like count how many times I click it. So right now, refresh. So there's my counter. There's 0 times, and I want to inject JavaScript into this. So what is it? Just script JS. I'm going to console log testing. Fresh here, open up my dev tools, console log testing. So I know my script JS file is running. So I want to create, has anybody seen Cookie Clicker? Yeah.
Where you're supposed to click the cookie? Right there.
What is it, this one? So we're essentially kind of recreate this, not literally, but like, this is literally just a website that you click that, and believe it or not, this company sold it for a couple $1 million with all the added revenue it generates. You just sit there and click, and what we want to do is count how many times they're clicking. That's literally all it does.
That's it.
That's all it does. But you gotta
That's
like,
the start of it.
you gotta get.
You
Oh,
can automate it.
that's great.
And
So right now I'm ready. So we're gonna do that. We're gonna create a clicker that counts it.
I just leave it sitting open.
So down here, I'm gonna need a
What else are
button.
you doing yesterday?
Click me. right here. When I click this, I want this to increment by whatever. So in here, I'm gonna need to do a span, set at 0. I'm gonna do an ID of counter, and on this click, I need this thing to increment by. What's the span do? It's essentially kind of like a div, but it spans the entire length of the screen. So it takes up that entire thing. Pretty sure. Like a common in like CSS question. What's the difference between a div and a span? Span just really spans the length of the screen, and that's how big that element is. Could be totally wrong. Am I wrong?
Span is like inline. So you use a div, it like the boxes go up right underneath each other. But when you use a span, it can like go on the same line as the div.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
The front end is inline and it is a block.
Okay. Span is inline and div is block.
Coming up on a lot of.
So in here, so if I want to do this vanilla JavaScript style, I need to create. What do I need to do? I need button, ID of button. So in my JavaScript code, I need to add like when I click this button, I need it to do something. I need it to execute something. So I can do const button equals document dot get. I can do the element by ID. I can also do like a query thing. Query selector. I'm going to get element by ID. And then button. And the console log button. Button. And then I need to grab the span because I'm going to be changing the inner HTML of this every time. Grab it. So there's my button console. So I need const counter document dot get element by ID. I can do counter. Console log counter. There's my counter right there. So with the span and div, I just had it reversed. Random thought. So when I click that, I want this to increment my. So how do I do that? What do I first need to do? I need to create a let count equals 0. It needs to start at 0. And I need to add an event listener to this. I don't remember event listeners. So, and I want to add an event listener on this button. So on this button, I need to add an event listener. Button dot add event listener. Not quite sure. Let's Google it because I've heard this event listener before. I don't know how it works. Add event listener to button. Cool. Okay. Right. Document add event listener click. What other kind of event listeners are there? Oh, this is going slow. Click. Oh, I see a lot of clicks. Mouse over, mouse out. Resize demo. Oh, that's the click. So we just want clicks. So click. What is click display date? Guessing that is a method or a function. Yep, takes in a function. Let's just call that function. Function. And it calls this function. What do I want to do? In this function, when I click it, what's this function supposed to do?
Just
said.
Increase the count by count plus plus. Let's count the log. Log count. Hopefully it works. Oh, look at that. Cool. Now we just have to put that in here. So we got this counter, which is a span. So we need to counter dot. How do I change the HTML being displayed? Inner HTML equals count. That.
Oh yeah. $1 million idea.
Millionaire written all over. But now, say this click me button, this action, just the action of like clicking something and incrementing something by like clicking it and performing a function, performing some kind of operation. As this website scales, I got this click me button. I don't want to write anytime I need a button to execute an operation. I don't want to have to write a button function like this every single time. I only want to be able to write this once and be able to use it throughout my entire application. In vanilla JavaScript and HTML, that's very difficult to do. In React, it's a lot easier. You just got to kind of think a little more abstract and how to make it scalable. With that, let's take a 11-minute break, and we're going to. Does anybody have any questions right now? In regards to how I just did this. So with this, I could have also done, I think, an arrow function. Now it doesn't persist. Every time I refresh it, it starts at 0. That's not the point of the lecture at the moment. So let's review. I've got this H1 counter. I've got the span with an ID of counter. The initial HTML is 0. I've got this button with an ID of button that says click me. And down here in this script, I am loading my JavaScript. Initially comes in here, it says console log testing right there. Create a variable called button, and I document that get element by ID, so it gets this element. And I also create a variable called counter, which also gets element by ID, which is this span with the ID of counter. So it grabs this entire node element. Then I create a variable called count, assign it to 0, this is the one I keep track of. And then on this button element, I add an event listener that listens to every time that this element is clicked, like someone actually clicks on this element, it executes this function. This function takes in this, doesn't have to take it, but takes this global variable called count, increments it by 1, and then I take this counter element and I counter inner HTML, which changes any HTML, which is the 0 right now. I equal it to count, which is this variable. So that's how
Is it the last step that allows you to just have 0 and not have to make? So right now on line 11.
line 11.
On the HTML.
Oh, yes.
That it's fine to say 0 and not be putting in a variable.
Correct. So it's not like Jinja where we can pass in JavaScript or Python or anything in here. We're doing Jinja like that. Yeah. This is just raw HTML, vanilla HTML. It doesn't accept variables. We can't pass in any variables into the HTML files. However, we will get into something called JSX after the break, which enables to inject JavaScript into what looks like HTML, but it's actually called JSX. But it looks and acts like HTML. We'll get to that when we start the React section. Okay. All right, take a 10-minute break. Be back at 9:52.